Google Takeout is a pretty good tool that allows you to download all your data from Google. You can download all your emails from Gmail, all your files from Google Drive, all your photos from Google Photos, and all the other things like that. And Timmy has a lot of other videos that show you how to actually use Google Takeout to download your files. But really the biggest issue with Google Takeout is if you're downloading a lot of files, they'll often end up being split into multiple different zip files, like this. So often, your files that were all nicely organized are now split into multiple chunks, and it's kind of difficult to get them to go back together. So in this video, Timmy's going to show you how you can merge them all back together on your Chromebook after you've downloaded them. Unfortunately, it's not super easy, but this is really the best and only way you can do it. Unfortunately, you basically have to manually merge them all together, but Timmy has some tips to help you work through it properly and make sure you get everything merged correctly. To get started, you'll just need to extract each zip file individually. So it's just like extracting any other zip file if you've ever done that before on your Chromebook. So we've got the first zip file here, and we'll double click on it. And now we can see inside the zip file is a folder named Takeout, and there'll be a folder named Takeout in every one of these zip files. So you've got your folder named Takeout here, and you'll need to drag it out of the zip file to extract it. So Timmy's working in the Downloads folder, so Timmy's going to drag this Takeout folder into the Downloads folder. You could do the same thing in the My Files folder or a different folder, or you might have an external hard drive or a flash drive or something like that connected to your Chromebook. And if you did, you would see it down here somewhere, and you could use that as well. You'd just be dragging it onto that. But you'll need to drag the Takeout folder to wherever you're working on your Chromebook. In this case, Timmy's using the Downloads folder. So we'll click and drag and drop it onto the Downloads folder. And then you'll need to wait for it to extract these files out of the zip file, as it's telling you down here. So you just need to wait for that to finish. And now it says it's completed. So now we can go back to the Downloads folder here. And we now have this folder named Takeout. So all the files that are in this zip file are now copied out to here. And now you can actually delete this zip file if you want to. You don't have to, but Timmy would probably recommend it so that you don't end up in a mess, because you don't really need the zip file anymore. It just keeps things neater if you delete as you're going. So we'll click delete here to delete that zip file. And now we'll just need to repeat the same process with all the others. So double click on this second zip file and click and drag the folder to the Downloads folder and wait for that to extract. And that's done, so we can go back to the Downloads folder again. And now, as you can see, we have Takeout, which was the folder from the first zip file. And now we have Takeout 1, which is the folder from the second zip file. So unfortunately, they're still split into separate folders, but we'll worry about merging them after we've finished extracting them all. So now we can delete this second zip file and move on to the third, and so on. You'll just do this however many times you need to for however many files you have. And now we have finished extracting all the zip files, so we have no more zip files left, and they're all extracted out here as folders. And one extra thing Timmy should mention is all the zip files will appear here on the side. After you're done with them, which we are, you just need to click the eject button here on each one and make them all go away. It's a bit weird that they do that, but you can just get rid of them like that. And now we have all of these folders here that we need to merge together. So unfortunately, this isn't going to be super easy, but to try and make it as easy as possible, it's best if you open two windows of the Files app. So you should see the Files app somewhere down here, and you'll need to come down here and right click or two-finger click on it, and then click New Window in this menu that appears. So now there's basically two copies of the Files app. and you'll click and drag the top of it here. You'll drag one of them over here and let go like that, so it takes up half the screen. Then you'll get the other one and do the same with the other one. So now we have two versions of the Files app, one on each side of the screen. And now, in this one on the left here, you should be in Downloads already, or wherever your files are, all of these folders. And you'll have all of these Takeout folders here, and one of them will not have a number next to it. And you want to double click on the one that doesn't have a number next to it to go inside it, like that. So this is the folder we want to keep. We want all of our files to be in here. And then in the Files app on the other side, you'll need to go into Downloads or your flash drive or wherever else it is, wherever else it might be that you have all of these folders. And you'll need to start working through all the other folders one at a time. So we have Takeout 1 here. We'll double click on Takeout 1. And now we need to bring everything from here across into here. So exactly how this works will kind of vary depending on what content you've downloaded from Google Takeout, but Timmy will try to walk you through it with as many examples as possible. So we can see here, starting off with the first folder, they both have a folder named Drive inside them. So because that's all they have, we'll want to go inside Drive in both of these windows here. And now all of these files will be different, but there will probably be some same folders in here. So to start with, all of these files on this side, just the loose files, we want to put them over with the loose files over here. And that's really quite easy to do. So we'll do that first. We will single click on the top file here to select it. Then we will scroll all the way down to the bottom, like that, and hover over the bottom file here. But before we click anything, we will hold down the Shift key on the keyboard. So press and hold that. Then click this bottom file. And now all 58 of these loose files are selected. And now we will just click and drag over and drop them on this side. And it will move all of those loose files into the folder we want to keep. So that's that done, and that's pretty easy. But these folders are a bit more complicated because, as you see, for example, here, we have a folder named Beefy Files here, and we have a folder named Beefy Files here. And what happened basically is some of the files from Beefy Files are in this folder, and some of the files from Beefy Files are in this folder. So if you have a folder here that is not over here, you can just click and drag the entire folder and drop it in here, like we did with the files. But because we have two folders here that are the same, basically, we now need to go inside Beefy Files in both of these windows. And now in here, we have loose files. So now we can select all of these loose files, just like we did before, all 10 of them, and then drag them across to drop them in here. So they're now in the Beefy Files in here. So now we can go back a step here, back to Drive, and this Beefy Files folder is now empty. So we can now select that Beefy Files folder and delete it. But back over here, we have Beefy Files with now all of the files in it. So now we're done with that folder, and there's another folder. So we just have to continue with this folder. We go inside Files that Timmy shares folder, and we have a loose file in here. So we can click and drag and drop that across that simply. But we now once again have another folder in here that exists in both of them. So now we have to go inside this folder in both windows. And now we have to select these two files and drag them across here. Now we can go back a step here, and we can delete this folder because it's now empty. And we can go back a step here and delete this folder because it's now empty. And if we go back a step here, we now have all the files correctly there. and all the files correctly in there. So hopefully you're following along with that. It gets pretty complicated when you have a lot of folders and stuff like this, but hopefully it makes sense well enough. You basically just need to work through each folder and work out how you can merge them correctly by dragging them across. And it's really best if you can delete the empty folders as you go so that you don't get confused. And you might also have trash and uncategorized folders. We have them both here and here. Timmy's actually just going to delete both of them. You might want to keep them. Maybe you would merge them like you would any other files, but it's not really worth it. It's probably a lot of data you don't really care about, so Timmy's just deleting them. But now we have an empty drive folder here. So if we take a step back here, we know this folder is empty. So we can delete this folder, and we should probably take a step back over here. So now we're kind of done with the first folder. So as you can see, we still have this takeout folder with no number on the end of it. And inside here, we have drive, which contains the contents of the drive folder from the original takeout folder and takeout one. And if there was maybe another folder inside takeout one as well, you would need to do all the same stuff for that folder, but there isn't. Takeout one is now empty. So we can actually delete takeout one because it's just an empty folder. And now we can move on to takeout two. And this takeout two folder might have different stuff in it. It might have photos or something completely different. But in this case, it's more Google Drive files. So we have a drive folder. So we'll once again need to go into the drive folder here and the drive folder here. And in this folder, it's mostly just loose files, which is nice and easy. We select the top one, we scroll down to the bottom, we hold Shift and select the bottom one, and we drag all of these files across and drop them in there. Then it's just that folder files that Timmy shares with people again. We'll have to go into that, and we'll have to go into that. And in this case, this folder here actually doesn't exist here. So all we need to do is drag this folder across and bring it across here. And now we can come back here and delete files that Timmy shares. And we can come back here and delete drive because that's now empty too. So hopefully this is starting to make sense, just working through everything like that. If we go back out here, we now have all of that stuff in here. And if we go back out to downloads here, we're now done with takeout 2. So we can delete that as well because it's all in here. And now we'll move on to takeout 3. Takeout 3 in this case is actually just archive browser.html. If we open it up quickly, it's basically a kind of a mini website that's designed to tell you about the data you downloaded. So you might find this interesting, you might want it, but Timmy doesn't really have much use for it. If you're just going to keep all your stuff downloaded, you don't really need it. So in this case, Timmy's actually going to go back out to downloads and just completely delete takeout 3. We can skip it. But obviously, if you had stuff in there that you want to keep, you would merge it across to this window. But moving on to takeout 4. Takeout 4 now actually has a separate folder. So we worked through all of the drive folders before in Drive, and we had to merge them all into there. But this will be different depending on what you've downloaded. If you've only downloaded Google Drive files, you'll only have drive folders inside your takeout zips. Whereas in this case, we have mail as well, because Timmy downloaded Google Drive and Gmail and Google Photos. So in this instance here, in this folder, we just have mail, and we just need to bring that across here. So we now have drive and mail, both in this plain takeout folder. But now we're done with takeout 4, so we can go back out of there and delete takeout 4. And now we can go into takeout 5, and takeout 5 now has Google Photos. So because we don't have the Google Photos folder yet over here, we can simply click and drag and drop that in. And now we have Google Photos in there and nothing in here. So we can go back out and delete Takeout 5. And now just 2 more to go. If we go into Takeout 6, now Takeout 6 has Google Photos, and we now also have Google Photos in here. So now we have to go into Google Photos here, and we have to go into Google Photos here, and now we have a bunch more folders that we also have to merge. So we have photos from 2023 in here, and we need to find photos from 2023 in here. And now we need to select them all and copy them across. So we will click on the top one and scroll to the bottom, which is very long. And we will hold the Shift key and click the bottom one, 839 files selected. But when you're selecting all the loose files in a folder like this, an easier option can just be to press Control A, and that will select all of them for you. So that's just a little trick you can use. And then once they're selected, we'll click and drag and drop them across in here. And it might take a few seconds for it to work this out because it's a lot of files. And it says they're completed, but it hasn't quite done it yet because they're still here. And there we go. So now all these files are across in here. And Timmy's not sure how well you can hear that, but the fan on the Chromebook is now pretty loud because it's working pretty hard. But that's okay. We can now go back to Google Photos, and photos from 2023 is now empty. So we can delete that, and we'll go back to Google Photos here. Next up, we have photos from 2024. And obviously, if there was no photos from 2024 folder in here, you just drag it across. But because we have a corresponding one in here as well, we have to go inside them and then select the files inside and move them across again. So we'll go Control A and then drag all of these and drop them in here. And now all of those are moved out as well. So we can go back to Google Photos eventually. And we can delete this empty photos from 2024 folder. And we'll go back to Google Photos over here. And now just 2 more folders to go. We have Test Album, which do we have that here? Yes, we do. So we'll go Test Album, Test Album. And we have a whole lot of files in here, 88 files to select and drag across to here. So we'll do that. And then we can go back and delete Test Album and go back here. Last one is Vacation Pictures. And we also have that here too. So we'll go into both of them. And in this case, it's just one file here that needs to come across. Now we can delete Vacation Pictures from here. And we can go back to the Takeout folder and delete this empty Google Photos folder. And back to the downloads. And now this Takeout 6 folder is empty, so we can delete that. And we can also go back here to the Takeout folder here. And now into Takeout 7. And Takeout 7 is more Google Photos, so we will once again go into Google Photos here. And we'll go into Google Photos here. And we have more photos from 2023 and 2024. So we'll start with 2023, go into both of them, and it's actually just one photo here, so we'll quickly drag that across, and go back here and delete 2023, go into 2024, and we'd better make sure we're in 2024 here. And we have quite a few photos to select here, so we'll use Control A again. Not that one. We're in the wrong window. Over here, we use Control A and select them all like that, and click and drag across. And now they're all moved across, so we can go back out here and delete photos from 2024 because that's empty. And we can go back here and delete Google Photos because that's empty. And we can go back out here and delete Takeout 7 because that's now empty. So if we go right back to the Downloads folder, we will now just have one Takeout folder here with no number on the end of it. And inside this Takeout folder will be all of the files in all of the folders and everything all organized correctly. So now we can go ahead and close this window, and we can drag that down to make it more of a normal shape. And now we just have this one Takeout folder here with all of the files correctly merged together. And as you can probably tell, that was quite a long and difficult process. And if you had even more folders with a whole lot of files going really deep into a whole lot of folders, that could be a very time-consuming and difficult thing to do. And unfortunately, there's no better way to do it on a Chromebook, but that's how you can do it on a Chromebook if you have to. But if you have really a lot of files and a lot of folders and everything, and this simply isn't going to be practical, what you can do is get a flash drive or external hard drive or something like this and connect it to your Chromebook and copy all of your zip files onto a flash drive or something. And this is actually quite a bit easier to do on Windows or Mac computers. They have an automated process that just automatically merges the folders together, which means you can do it really quickly. So if you could maybe borrow a friend's computer or something, or dust out an old one that you might have, you could then connect this flash drive or hard drive or whatever it is to a Windows or Mac computer, and then quickly merge all the files together. And then when you plug this flash drive or hard drive back into your Chromebook, you would have all of the files merged together in one folder without having to sit here and manually merge them together like Timmy did. But that's how you can merge these files on a Chromebook if you have to. And Timmy will see you in another video in the future.